get it over and done with.
Jenna.
I'm kidding.
Welcome back to the Sports Playbook. If you're new here, follow us on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. I'm your host, DMoz, and to my left, I have my lovely co-host,
JenLen, it's good to be back.
Absolutely. We've been away for a little bit, but very glad that we're back. Yeah. But we're back for another episode. If you don't know, A Moment from the Archives, it's a series that we're doing which dives a little bit deeper into pivotal sporting moments, so things that have changed a game or a sport.
He left Red Bull, he went to Renault, he's gone to McLaren, he's going to get the victory now. It's McLaren and Ricciardo that win the Italian Grand Prix.
So, how did we get to this point? Let's help set the scene.
So you might ask, who is Daniel Ricciardo? Ricciardo, he was born and raised in Western Australia. So for those that don't know, that's Australia, just to make it super clear. Daniel's earliest memories from motorsport was when his father, Joe, took him to Barbagallo Raceway. So that is a racetrack that's in Western Australia. It's where V8 supercars race. Ricciardo, he started racing karts from the age of 9. And Ricciardo retells the story back in 2002 at the Australian Grand Prix. This is where Mark Webber, another Australian F1 driver, was racing in the Australian Grand Prix. This race was quite pivotal because it was the first time that an Australian scored points at an Australian race.
Yeah, wow.
And Ricciardo was in the stands retelling how Mark was able to bring it home in 5th place and get a huge load of points. So it's pretty special knowing a little bit further on down the track that we'll get into, he actually took Mark Webber's seat and replaced him at Red Bull Racing.
Yeah, a really pivotal moment by the sounds of it.
Absolutely. The first time that Ricciardo entered into a Formula race, so Formula race is, in short, where there's no cover over the top of your car. So Formula cars are where it's open-wheeled racing, so you can see the wheels in front of you. Racing car is a bit more, there's a closed roof over you and you can't see the wheels that are in front of you. Yeah. Probably the easiest depiction. Was in Western Australia Formula Ford. But Ricciardo's first major success was winning the Australian Karting Championship back in 2005.
Wow, there you go. So I guess after that, we're looking at what does he do next? And like any Australian staying in Australia to set up your Formula One career is never going to work. So he heads off to Europe. So that was in 2007. At age 17, he packed his bags in pursuit of the dream of racing in Formula One. And he would end up residing in a small town 45 minutes from the Monza Grand Prix circuit, which really did become his home away from home and definitely would bring him some good luck later on in his career.
Definitely did.
In the same year, he featured in the Formula Renault 2.0 Italy Racing Series. And at this point, that was really when Red Bull took an interest in Daniel Ricciardo, and then he later joined their junior driving program. And he would join with fellow Trans-Tasman counterpart, Brendan Hartley.
Who's based in New Zealand. And Brendan would also come back into the picture in 2018, where he also got his shot in F1.
Yeah, okay.
It's important to point out, though, when Ricciardo leaves Australia for Europe, he's not actually picked by Red Bull at this point.
Yeah, so he's really taking a risk by leaving. Yeah.
And his family as well, like putting a lot of financial interest into making sure that he can race as well as he possibly can to be noticed by one of these big F1 teams.
Yeah, for sure. And then what did his, I guess, junior driving career look like in the Red Bull program?
So it's important to point out, I guess, what is the junior driving program? Red Bull Racing, they had 2 teams in the F1 Championship. Red Bull Racing, which was the top team, and then you had Toro Rosso. Toro Rosso was their junior team. So people who were still good enough for F1, but looking to prove themselves and get up into that main team status. Red Bull, though, it's important to point out they were not the powerhouses like they are today. They were probably a midfield team at best. And before they were Red Bull Racing, for any F1 fanatics out there, they were actually Jaguar. So,
there you go.
So it used to be Jaguar, and then Red Bull took them over in the end of 2004, going into 2005.
Interesting.
So the other person to point out in the junior driver program that was pivotal was Dr. Helmut Marko. Helmut Marko, he's the Red Bull junior driver director, so he oversees all of the talent that comes in, and he picks and chooses who goes into these race seats.
Mm-hmm.
In that Formula Renault series that we pointed out before, Ricciardo came sixth in the championship. So in 2008, he was rewarded with a Red Bull junior driver contract.
Yeah.
And with Ricciardo's championship success, in 2009, he was able to win the British Formula 3, and he wrapped up the series with 2 rounds to go, which is a pretty impressive feat whenever you can get 2 rounds ahead and you don't have to worry about your rivals behind.
Yeah, definitely.
And to put in perspective, a familiar name was also in the series. It was former F1 driver Marcus Ericsson.
Yeah, there you go. So beating good competition for sure.
Absolutely. And in that same year, Ricciardo would get his first chance to drive Formula One machinery. It was at Jerez circuit. Jerez is in Spain.
Yep.
It was at the 2009 Young Drivers Test. And Ricciardo, he would set the fastest lap on the last day. So it's really setting a fundamental scene of how good he was coming up through the ranks and how much he was getting noticed as well.
Yeah, definitely.
In 2010, he would go on to race in another championship called Formula Renault, but he lost that championship by 2 points, unfortunately.
Still very close.
Absolutely. So he's still right up there at the top. He would also go up against a teammate that he would later see down the track in Jean-Eric Vergne. He would also see Brendan Hartley as well.
Yeah.
So they were very much coming up through the ranks together.
Yeah.
And in 2011, Ricciardo, after the disappointment in 2010, he was able to get himself a Toro Rosso test driver role.
Yeah.
Which for any F1 driver coming up through the ranks, that's a huge moment.
Yeah.
Because you're being noticed by the team. And at any moment, if any of those drivers are sick, he can step
straight in. Yeah. It's kind of like being on the cusp of making it as a Formula One driver.
It absolutely is. And in 2011, he was leading that championship, but he was getting a call that he wasn't expecting.
Yes, he was. So I guess now we're just prior to the British Grand Prix in 2011, and HRT was struggling with their driver.
Nuria Carter-Kane.
They decided to sack him and they replaced him with Daniel Ricciardo. So for Ricciardo, this is him making his F1 debut at the British Grand Prix with only 1 week of prep. So not being fully prepared, he jumped in to make his debut. I think any racing driver would jump at any opportunity to make their debut, regardless of the prep that they might not have done. Unfortunately, not too memorable for Ricciardo, finishing in 19th position, and he was 3 laps down on the race winner Fernando Alonso. But he's in F1. It's the first step. He's got his foot in the door, and he finished the 2011 season with his best place being 18th, and that was at the Hungarian Grand Prix. But then now we're into 2012. And for Ricciardo, this is building really nicely. He's secured a Toro Rosso seat. So as we said, Red Bull's junior team. And first race on the grid is his home race in Australia. And he secured 9th place and his first points, which that's pretty good for your like the start of the season. And yes, he had a couple races the year before, but this is really could be considered his rookie season.
Definitely.
It was the first time that we saw 2 Australian drivers on the F1 grid as well. He had a pretty consistent year throughout 2012, with 9th being his best result, but he achieved it as well in Belgium, Singapore and Korea. So his teammate, French driver
Jean-Eric Vergne,
beat Ricciardo by 1 position in the championship, being 17th and 18th respectively. So not a great year, but that's okay. We're moving through now to 2013, and this was really make or break year for Ricciardo to prove himself. And prove himself he did. He secured solid championship points and a best result of 7th place in both the Chinese and Italian Grand Prix. And he's also outscored his teammate in this season. So in the same year, June of 2013, Mark Webber, so another Australian, who was at Red Bull Racing at the time, announced he's retiring from F1, which really leaves open that spot in the Red Bull Racing team, the main team. The rumour mill, as it always does in Formula One, is spinning of who might take that seat. Names like Fernando Alonso, Kimi Raikkonen were being thrown around for experience. also looking at other Red Bull Junior drivers, including Danny Kvyat. But what did happen?
Well, but in the 2nd of September 2013, Red Bull Racing confirmed that Daniel Ricciardo was set to replace Mark Webber for the 2014 season.
An Aussie for an Aussie.
Absolutely. It's a great trade.
Yeah.
But for Ricciardo, this was his biggest test yet.
Yeah.
He was going to become Sebastian Vettel's teammate. And for those that don't know, Sebastian Vettel was a 4-time F1 world champion at this point. So he won 2010, 11, 12 and 13.
All with Red Bull Racing.
All with Red Bull Racing. Red Bull also were coming off the Constructors' Championships.
Yeah.
So they were red hot. But things were different.
Yeah.
Gone were the V8 engines, and now we're entering V6 hybrid era.
Yeah.
So it could become a level playing field, but for Red Bull Racing, it's a dangerous territory because they lose all the momentum they had with their V8 success.
Yeah. It's basically like starting over.
Pretty much. They get to the Australian Grand Prix in 2014, and in a wet qualifying session, in Q2, which is the second qualifying session, so from 1st to 15th qualify, Sebastian Vettel fails to make it into the top 10 shootout.
Yeah.
He qualifies in 12th spot, which is a huge, huge moment in the sport. But who was there in Q3? It was Daniel Ricciardo. He set the fastest lap in Q3 after the checkered flag had went, and he was actually on pole position.
Wow.
In his first race for Red Bull.
Yeah.
But it was only for 10 seconds because a familiar name of Lewis Hamilton pipped him right at the post. But what it went to show was this was a name to remember.
He's ready.
He's absolutely ready.
Yeah.
So, in his first race, on the front of the grid, with Lewis Hamilton right next to him, Ricciardo goes. He had a solid race. He maintained second place and he crossed the line second. Everyone in Australia thought this was the first time an Australian has finally scored a podium in F1 at the home Grand Prix.
Yeah.
But it would later be revealed that Ricciardo and Red Bull Racing, Ricciardo's entry, were actually disqualified from the race due to a maximum allowed of fuel flow into the engine, which essentially meant that the engine was like getting more power.
It had more fuel than what it was allowed. Is that right?
Yeah, pretty much. So in a very unfortunate set of circumstances, that podium was ripped away from Ricciardo, and still Australia has not had someone on the F1 podium from Australia at the Australian Grand Prix.
Yeah, up until this stage, which is the 2025 season, yeah.
Yeah. Piastri was very close this year.
He was.
But it failed to be.
Sadly.
But he would get his first podium in race 5 of the championship in Barcelona in Spain.
So not too long for him to have to wait.
It's not too long. It's also very familiar hunting ground for Barcelona because a lot of the F1 teams test their cars at that circuit.
Yeah, okay.
So everyone gets pretty bored of that track, but he scored his first
A
podium
bit more
there.
familiar.
Yeah, exactly. But Ricciardo, again, wouldn't have to wait long. Race 7 of the championship, the Canadian Grand Prix, Ricciardo scores his first win.
Yeah.
It was a huge moment. The Mercedes were by far and away the strongest car of that year, and they were championship contenders.
Yeah.
It was going to be a fight out between the two of them. Hamilton lost his brakes halfway throughout the race, and Nico Rosberg, who was at Mercedes at the time, was managing an engine issue.
Yeah, right.
On lap 68 or 70, down the back straight, Ricciardo, late braking, got Nico Rosberg and went into the final set of corners into the lead.
Yeah.
That race would actually end under safety car because of another incident. So Ricciardo finished the race under the safety car conditions, but he won his first Grand Prix.
Yeah.
An incredible moment for any driver, but especially being an Australian, moving away from home to Europe, sacrifice is the first word that definitely comes up.
Oh, for sure.
Ricciardo would also record 2 more incredible race wins. One was at the Hungarian Grand Prix, once again, through late braking.
Yeah, he really became known for this throughout this season and only continued on throughout his career.
Absolutely. And these are probably 2 of the biggest names that you could overtake in the final 5 laps. First was Lewis Hamilton for second, and in the race lead was Fernando Alonso in a Ferrari as well.
Yeah.
He got him on the final 5 laps. Then we go to the Belgian Grand Prix. Both the Mercedes get into trouble, and Ricciardo again wins another race.
Yeah.
That's 3 race wins at Red Bull Racing in his very first year.
Yeah, very strong first year.
It was incredible. So he finished 3rd in the Drivers' Championship behind Lewis Hamilton, who won, and Nico Rosberg. But more importantly, he would beat Sebastian Vettel, his teammate, by 61 points. So to put that into perspective, that's almost a clearance of around about 2.5 race wins that he's got on him.
Pretty impressive considering what Vettel had achieved in that car with Red Bull Racing.
Yeah, absolutely. And like we kind of touched on, late braking was the theme that started to come out for Ricciardo, especially in 2014. And it was where he actually adopted his self-appointed nickname.
Yes.
Honey Badger. Honey Badger was born in 2014, and it was very much people underestimated Ricciardo. They thought because he was smiley, bit jovial,
a larrikin.
Larrikin, literally, that he couldn't be taken seriously and his rivals could potentially bully him in a racing situation and try to get past him. Hence why the Honey Badger was born. So for his tenacious and fearless driving style that earned him multiple overtaking awards, which we'll get into a bit later, it was so significant for Ricciardo that he's actually got a tattoo of a honey badger on Ricciardo.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you know where the tattoo is?
I think we can do some research,
Okay,
but we won't dive too deep.
Yeah, fair. Yeah.
But it solidified his connection to the animal and very much for the rest of his racing career.
Yeah, wow. Such a strong first year in Red Bull Racing for him. And I think probably a lot of people thought he's the next big F1 driver coming through. Unfortunately, in 2015, a little bit of a different tale of the story for Ricciardo and for Red Bull. So he's got a new teammate, Danny Kvyat, but quite a hard season, a lot of reliability problems with their Renault engine, often found themselves retiring or being lapsed down. He still managed 2 podiums, one at the Hungarian Grand Prix and the other at the Singapore Grand Prix, but he did get beat by Kvyat in the standings by 3 points. So a little bit of a year to forget 2015 for Ricciardo.
And I think it was people were pretty confused by what was happening at this point, but everyone could look back to the reliability issues.
Yeah.
So it wasn't Ricciardo losing talent. The car just was nowhere.
Not a good car.
No,
yeah.
It was a devil of a car.
Yeah.
So we roll into 2016. Red Bull fans and Ricciardo fans were hoping that they had a better car, and they definitely got it. Whilst they weren't as competitive as Mercedes up the front, they were easily the second best car ahead of Ferrari, and another one being Williams.
Yeah, you don't hear them at the front of the pack too often, although things are changing. Things are looking up.
They are definitely changing. At the start of the season, Ricciardo showed some really strong pace. He had 3 4th placings at Australia, Bahrain and China. He's pretty unlucky at China to not actually get a podium.
Yeah.
But at the Russian Grand Prix, yes, Russia was actually a Grand Prix.
Yeah.
It would prove to be his teammate's final race.
Okay.
Which is quite ironic because that was also Danny Kvyat's home race in Russia.
Yeah.
He was able to take out Ricciardo and then he took out Sebastian Vettel all within 2 corners.
Yeah, okay.
So the next piece of the puzzle comes in.
Yeah.
Replacing Danny Kvyat was Max Verstappen.
Wow. Yeah. How old would Max have been then?
Max was 18.
Wow. So young.
He was really young.
Really, really young.
So Max started at Toro Rosso in 2015. So he had to get a special compensation to get his super license, which is what's required to race in F1.
Yeah, under the age of 18. Yeah. Well, I mean, he's gone on to prove that he's one of the best drivers, so it makes sense why he maybe got that exception.
Absolutely. So at the Spanish Grand Prix, Verstappen would have his very first Red Bull Racing start.
Yeah, wow.
And Ricciardo very much wanted to prove himself because Verstappen, it was starting to look like he could be favoured, but still he had a lot to prove. Yeah. But in that Spanish Grand Prix, both Mercedes drivers took each other out on lap 1.
Not ideal.
It was horrific. And the hatred was growing strong between these two.
Yeah, so Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg. Yeah.
Definitely. And Ricciardo, he went into the lead of the race. However, Red Bull did not play the best strategy and Ricciardo should have won. Yeah. But they didn't put him on the right strategy. So who got their first race win in their very first time at Red Bull Racing? There's none other than Max Verstappen.
Max Verstappen.
Duh, 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 duh. And he would go on to become the youngest race winner at 18 years old.
I don't think we'll see another 18-year-old race winner. I really don't, unless someone like Kimi does manage to win this year. But otherwise, it's so young.
I think it was, what it went to show was the lengths that Red Bull Racing and that team were doing to try and keep Verstappen in.
Yeah.
Because Verstappen had an opportunity to go to Mercedes and sign with Mercedes.
Yeah.
But Red Bull said, we will get you into the car earlier. And they did. And they did. And this is how they repaid him.
There you go.
So
he had his first win.
He did. And cue the Monaco Grand Prix.
Yeah.
Now, Monaco, historically, Red Bull Racing have been very strong at this track. They started to come into their own.
Yeah.
Ricciardo, once again, had a point to prove.
Yeah, I'm sure he did.
With a chip in his shoulder and the honey badger roaring like it normally does, he put the number 3 Red Bull on pole position, which was also his first pole position in F1.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. So he's had quite a few wins by this point, podium finishes, but never had finished on pole.
Never.
There you go.
And I think you can gather a lot from this radio message. It was quite strong for Ricciardo. He said, my time, my effing time. When he got
obviously
pole.
Very, obviously very, a lot of feeling in that qualifying session for him based on what had happened at the previous races. So I'm not surprised that he was that enthusiastic.
Well, the interesting thing is, like, we see it with Piastri now, but Ricciardo was also one of those ones like Webber, very chilled out in the radio.
Yeah.
Like he would never overstep the mark.
Yeah.
He was always very calculated with what he would say, and he'd always give off very calm and composed vibe.
Yeah, so the opposite of Yuki Tsunoda.
Yeah, definitely the opposite of Yuki. So Ricciardo would lead a Monaco Grand Prix that was a wet race.
Yeah.
So it would prove to be, you would think, in Ricciardo's favour.
Yeah, you'd think if you finished on pole at Monaco and it's wet, you're the favourite to win.
It's notoriously hard to pass at Monaco.
Yeah.
But Red Bull scheduled a pit stop for Ricciardo.
Okay, yep.
To change from intermediate to slick tyres. So a really important pit stop.
Yeah.
Red Bull call him in. Ricciardo arrives into pit lane, but there's no tyres.
Oh my gosh.
Red Bull called him in, and there were mechanics waiting out there, and there's no tyres. So Ricciardo's car gets jacked up, and F1 have an average pit stop time about 2.5, 3 seconds.
Yeah.
A really good 1 to 2 seconds.
Yeah.
He's left there waiting for 13 seconds.
Oh my goodness.
So an eternity in F1.
It would just feel like such a long time while you're sitting in the car and you can't go anywhere and there's nothing you can do as the driver.
And Ricciardo knew it. As soon as his car got jacked up, he was just shaking his head.
Yeah.
And obviously you can't see his eyes because his helmet's on.
Yeah.
But he was seething.
Yeah.
Absolutely seething. It was a catastrophic error that would see Ricciardo have a race win gone begging.
Yeah.
And Lewis Hamilton would go on to win that race.
Yeah.
Then there's another team radio message. And a seething Ricciardo said this on team radio. Save it. Nothing you can do can make that any better. Just save it. And in the press conference area, I've never seen Ricciardo so livid and angry. He said, like, I want to get out of here.
Yeah. Well, it's just such an avoidable error to make as a team. There's no reason why that has to have happened. And as you said, it's cost him a win.
Absolutely. But for Ricciardo, he was becoming Mr. Consistent throughout the whole season. And at the German Grand Prix, still in 2016, mind you, he would adopt the famous shoey.
Yeah.
So Ricciardo wasn't the first to do the shoey,
Yeah.
but he was the first to probably bring it onto a bigger world stage.
Yeah.
And my word, did he run with it. Any podium place getter was nervous and scared whenever they had to share the podium with Ricciardo.
Because they'd have to do a shoey.
Well, the likes of, there was Gerard Butler, Mark Webber, Christian Horner, Nico Rosberg's done it.
Yeah.
There's so many names that have done it. Martin Brundle's even done it.
Wow.
It goes to show, like, how many people he's cursed with this
How
thing.
influential Daniel Ricciardo is as well, I think. Yeah.
Literally. And at the Malaysian Grand Prix later in that year,
Yeah.
Lewis Hamilton would have an engine failure. which if you look at the 2016 championship, I reckon you can pinpoint that is when Hamilton lost that championship.
Yeah, right.
And Nico Rosberg then went on to win. But Ricciardo pounced the opportunity and he got his 4th race win of his career. Who was behind him? It's Max Verstappen. They had a pretty ding-dong battle throughout that whole race, but Ricciardo got on top. So Ricciardo would seal 3rd in the championship with 256 points to his name.
Yep.
Pole position, a race win, and 7 other podiums. He was one of only 2 drivers that classified in every single race of 2016.
Yeah, so definitely Mr. Consistent that season for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I guess now we'll move through to 2017, and this was definitely a bit of a tougher start to the season for Daniel Ricciardo compared to the previous year. But he did earn his first podium in Spain, but he was a minute behind the lead cars. So yes, a podium, but nowhere near a win. But it would start a consecutive run of 5 podiums in a row for Daniel Ricciardo. And then the Azerbaijan Grand Prix would roll around. Ricciardo started in 10th after hitting the wall in qualifying. And then he'd had brake issues on lap 5. So that's where he'd go all the way down to 17th spot. But never count out Daniel Ricciardo.
You can never.
This was when Honey Badger mode was well and truly activated and engaged. And following a safety car restart, Daniel Ricciardo performed one of the overtakes of the race. I think, scrap that, probably the overtake of the season, maybe the decade, by passing Nico Hülkenberg, Lance Stroll and Felipe Massa into turn 1. And then he'd roar into 3rd position. And if you haven't seen the video, I would highly recommend everyone go and watch it.
I think we can cue a little bit at the bottom of this video.
Yeah.
But at this point as well, sorry to jump in, it was lap 23 or 24 that he got up into 3rd position.
Yeah.
So from lap 5, where he was 17th, he's up into 3rd by lap 23 or 24.
Yeah. So he did the hard work before he got to the overtake to put himself in a position to be able to do that overtake and then get himself into 3rd.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then same race, Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton ran into each other. So Ricciardo once again picking up the scraps, just being in the right place, won another race.
He never wins a boring race.
No, well, he's not a boring driver by any stretch.
He's not a boring person.
Yeah,
either.
Exactly. But then we're at the Hungarian Grand Prix. This track definitely suits the Red Bulls far better. But for the first time, as teammates, Verstappen and Ricciardo collide with each other. And unfortunately, Ricciardo's damage was too bad. So he couldn't continue the race and was forced to retire. And I guess he finished that 2017 season with 1 race win and 9 other podiums. So still a pretty good year for him.
Yeah, and at that Hungarian Grand Prix, when they hit each other, when Ricciardo's walking off the side of the track, he actually flipped Verstappen the bird as they came back through.
There you go.
So Ricciardo was really seething at this, but they put it down to just Verstappen just didn't have the experience and shouldn't have gone for that move, but he went for it.
I think he'd still go for it in season 2025.
Absolutely. But also, I think it's important to point out that's why Verstappen's such a great driver, because he's willing to make and do these moves. Yeah. And yes, he might annoy someone or he might make someone angry, but there's a reason why he's a 4-time F1 world champion.
Yeah, he does the moves other people won't. He takes the risks.
He does take the risks. So we get to the 2018 season. The halo is introduced, and for Red Bull and Ricciardo, they enter into their final year of a contract.
Yeah.
From Red Bull's point of view, they think that Ricciardo will probably just roll into another contract, and that would be it.
Yeah.
But it was becoming more apparent that Red Bull was starting to favour Verstappen for some things.
Yeah.
And Ricciardo was wanting a car that could challenge for a world title, because he hasn't had the opportunity to challenge for a world title yet. And in the 3rd race of the season in China, starting from 6th position, so wasn't really in contention, but he was there or thereabouts. On lap 30, safety car would come out, and Red Bull played the tyre gamble. They pitted both Max and Ricciardo for fresh tyres.
Yeah, they stacked them.
So the only ones of the front runners that went for new tyres. Verstappen actually should have won this race. He was ahead of Ricciardo, but he wasn't patient enough. He tried to take Lewis Hamilton around the outside of a corner.
Yep.
Got that wrong. He also then went for a move on Vettel. He also made contact with him.
Yeah, okay.
But Ricciardo made clean, concisive moves. In the space of 8 laps, from 6th position to first, it was an overtaking masterclass from the Honey Badger.
There we are again.
Literally, again. And Ricciardo, once again, said the iconic, sometimes you just got to lick the stamp and send it.
Yeah. It's quite the saying.
Absolutely. And at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, honestly, I reckon you can pinpoint this race as the moments that would change things for the Ricciardo and Red Bull relationship.
Yeah.
If not, I'd arguably say Ricciardo's career.
Yeah, I think so.
Verstappen and Ricciardo battled each other throughout the whole race. And it's important to point out that Red Bull said nothing throughout the race and they just let them race.
They let them race, yeah.
Which is probably mistake number 1. Lap 40, it overstepped the mark.
Yeah.
Both drivers took each other out going down the front straight.
Yeah.
And they were both out of the race, which was just it was the worst possible case scenario because they blew 4th and 5th and they blew a lot of constructors' points.
Yeah, heaps. By
doing that. Both drivers were actually ordered to go back to the Red Bull factory and apologise in front of all the staff.
Wow, really?
Both of them.
I'm sure they love doing that.
Oh, it's definitely the highlight of their career.
Yeah.
But Ricciardo just felt like Verstappen got off a bit lightly and Red Bull favoured Verstappen in that kind of role.
Yeah.
So come the Monaco Grand Prix, Ricciardo, surprise, surprise, chip in his shoulder, back against the wall. He thrives.
Yeah, he does.
He literally thrived in this moment. Ricciardo topped all 3 practice sessions.
Yeah, he's flying.
Literally flying. Yeah. He claimed pole position. Sorry, the other thing to point out here, Verstappen probably looked like he was going to get pole. Yeah. But he smashed his car.
Yeah.
So he couldn't qualify.
Yeah, that inexperience of Verstappen really is coming through in some of these races at the moment.
He would show brilliant moments of speed.
Yeah.
But it was also coupled with inexperience.
Yeah, putting the whole race together, not just 1 or 2 moments of brilliance.
Yeah, absolutely. So Ricciardo claimed pole position.
Yeah.
And a new lap record in the same moment.
Yeah, okay.
So
it's flying again.
Flying. Starting on pole, but on lap 25 of 78, his engine would lose 25% capacity.
Gosh.
Which,
not good.
If that's at any other race circuit, he's at the back of the field in 5 laps. But Monaco is not just any race circuit. It is a small, tight technical circuit.
Yeah.
And you really have to position the car well.
Yeah, pace won't win you necessarily a race at Monaco.
It's
how you drive.
It's like literally, I was going to say street smarts.
Yeah.
It's ironic.
No pun intended.
No, of course not. But you have to position the car to make sure the driver behind can't get a run on you.
Yeah.
Ricciardo did this with Sebastian Vettel breathing down his neck in the Ferrari.
Yeah.
Ricciardo had an ultra defensive drive.
Yeah.
And he held him off. He won a historic Monaco Grand Prix. And he right the wrongs from 2016. It wasn't his fault, but he wrote that wrong.
Yeah, for sure. And there's that like iconic video of him like dropping back into the pool at Monaco as well, celebrating with the team. I feel like this was a really big one for him.
I think actually Lewis Hamilton egged him on to do that.
Ah, really?
Because there was a big thing about Red Bull. Whenever that you would win a race, you would have to do something in the pool. There was Mark Webber, he did a front flip.
Okay, yeah.
Lewis Hamilton, I think, said to him in a press conference, you should just belly flop.
Yeah.
And he belly flopped.
Yes, he did.
It was pretty majestic.
Yeah, for sure.
But little do we know, this would actually be Ricciardo's final podium in the 2018 season and the Red Bull relationship.
Yep.
The other important thing to point out here is Red Bull actually then signed Honda as their engine manufacturer for 2019.
Yeah, so a new engine.
New engine, and they were not a good engine manufacturer at that point.
Yeah.
They were with McLaren. They didn't have the race results.
Yeah.
But they had signed with Red Bull.
Yeah, so a risk at that point in time. Yeah.
And as we said at the top of 2018, Ricciardo wanted a car that could challenge the world title.
Yeah.
And he didn't feel like that was going to happen.
Yeah.
So on August 3rd, the news comes out. Ricciardo would finish up with Red Bull at the end of the 2018 season.
Yeah.
I think shockwaves is an understatement.
Yeah.
When that came through. Christian Horner was shocked.
Yeah.
Most of the F1 paddock was shocked because he was going to a team that was not fundamentally a front runner.
Yeah, like he's leaving to try and win a world championship and he's not going to a Mercedes or a Ferrari.
No, it was a risky move.
Yeah.
But I think if you put yourself in Ricciardo's shoes, you become a number 1 driver, you sign a huge marquee contract.
Anything could happen, really.
Don't blame him.
Yeah, and that's what he did. He signed for Renault.
He absolutely did. The final highlight that season would actually come in Mexico. He claimed a pole position, which the Verstappen camp was seething at this. They thought that Max should have got it, but Honey Badger got it. He was unable to convert that pole position, and he was sitting in third position, 9 laps to go, and his engine would die.
Yeah.
It was... Ricciardo had the most retirements of anyone that season.
Yeah, wow.
8 retirements.
Yeah.
6 of them being mechanical.
Probably a bit of a metaphor for his career at Red Bull. It was dead.
Well, he literally said the car's cursed, and I don't see why I should race these final 2 races.
Yeah, it was definitely dead by that point.
It was, dead in the water.
Yeah. So, 2019, we've got a new car, we've got a new team. But unfortunately, still not a lot of great luck for Ricciardo. He had to retire from the home Grand Prix, so Australia, first race of the season with front wing damage. And then he'd go on to have 3 more retirements from the next 4 races. So really not an ideal start. We definitely had glimpses of what he could do in the Renault. They were a midfield competitor, but he was qualifying 4th in Canada, and then he ended up finishing in 6th. Best result came at the Italian Grand Prix in Monza, where he qualified 5th and then finished in 4th. So I guess he finished the season in 9th in the Drivers' Championship, and he was also 54 points ahead of his new teammate Nico Hülkenberg. So definitely that number 1 marquee driver signing for Renault, but nowhere near the top of the standings.
Definitely not. 2020 rolls around, and yes, COVID
another curse season.
Yeah, another thing. It interrupted that season. Before the season started, Ricciardo would have a new teammate in Esteban Ocon.
Yeah.
But before a wheel had even turned in that season, shock, the driver silly season had started again.
Yeah, so we've had no races because we've stopped for COVID, and we're already talking about the next season.
And the piece of the puzzle was starting to move, and they were moving quickly.
Yeah.
Sebastian Vettel left Ferrari.
Yeah, huge.
Big move.
Yeah.
And he went to Aston Martin.
Yeah.
Sainz from McLaren would replace him at Ferrari, so it left a spot at McLaren available. And in May of 2020, Ricciardo signed a multi-year deal to sign with McLaren Racing from 2021 in May. Like that's...
And he hasn't even raced for Renault in 2020 yet.
No.
Wow.
And Renault were furious at this. Absolutely furious. Because they pinned a lot of their plans around Ricciardo.
Yeah.
And he left. So the season started, and we saw what Ricciardo could do when he pushed that Renault.
Yeah.
And he could extract the results that probably an Ocon was unable to extract.
Yeah.
4th at the British Grand Prix was just a start, and he started an 11-race point scoring streak.
Yeah.
Which is huge, especially in a Renault.
Yeah, midfield car.
Absolutely. And it would all go all the way through to the end of the season.
Yeah.
And it would start at the Belgian Grand Prix. At the Eiffel Grand Prix, so for those who don't know, that's Germany. They had to make lots of different Grand Prix names for 2020 because they were similar circuits every week.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So if you see some weird names, that's what one of them is.
Yeah, there you go.
Valtteri Bottas retired from the race. Who was there to pick up the scraps?
Ricciardo.
The Honey Badger. He secured 3rd place, and it was the first podium of his since 2018.
Yeah.
And the first podium for Renault since 2011.
Wow. And of course it was Daniel Ricciardo that did it.
Of course it was him. And then at the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, which is Imola, for those who don't know, thanks to a Verstappen retirement, another podium was actually scored for Ricciardo and Renault.
Yeah.
2 podiums for a midfield car.
Pretty good. And this is probably the best he'd driven in that car. But this is post-signing with another team for next year.
And that's the thing. And a lot of the pundits' top driver standings, it would go Hamilton, Verstappen, Ricciardo.
Yeah, wow.
Everyone was putting Ricciardo up on a pedestal because he was extracting what most
drivers couldn't get from that car.
Yeah, exactly. So we'd roll into 2021.
Yeah, so this is when he starts at McLaren, and really interesting time with McLaren. And I guess he started with a 7th place in Bahrain in the opening round. Yeah, but it was a tough start to his life at McLaren. But he was able to get his best result, for the first half of the season, which was 5th at the British Grand Prix. So not too bad.
No.
Not too bad.
Not too bad.
But then we've got the final race before the summer break at the Hungarian Grand Prix. Ricciardo started from 11th, would finish himself at the first corner in 2nd position, which is pretty good. All before Lance Stroll forgot that he has a brake pedal that he should use, and he wiped out Ricciardo completely out of the race, unfortunately.
This guy just manages to appear in every single moment. Seriously.
Got to feel for him.
I don't.
But then now we're at the Italian Grand Prix, and Ricciardo would find himself starting 2nd position next to Verstappen on the front row after sprint race success. On Grand Prix Sunday, Ricciardo really had a point to prove. And he got the perfect start, no wheel spin, and ended up leading this Grand Prix from the first corner. He went on to win the race, which was huge. He set the fastest lap on the last lap, and he brought home a 1-2 finish for McLaren for the first time since 2012, and that was Lando Norris coming 2nd in that McLaren.
It was.
So Ricciardo really, after 3 years in F1 wilderness, he was back on the top step of the podium. But little did we know this would be the last podium of Ricciardo's career, and really from this point, a real turning point for the rest of his career. But in terms of the 2021 season, he finished 8th in the championship with 115 points. So still relatively solid.
I think the really sad bit with Ricciardo and his final race win was he said a message on team radio, something to the effect of, I just moved aside for a little bit. Or for those that...
Yeah, I never left or something
Yeah,
like
for those
that.
that think I never left, I didn't. I just stepped aside for a little.
Yeah.
I remember watching this race. I actually got quite emotional watching it because it was in COVID and it was really hard being a Ricciardo fan at this time.
Yeah.
Because he had everything there, but it wasn't working. Little did I know 2022 was about to come around.
I know.
This was the toughest year by far.
Yeah, not a good year.
Ricciardo's first Q3 appearance would not come until the 3rd race of the season.
Yeah.
He and that McLaren car were nowhere. But he was able to scrap together a 6th position for Australia.
Yeah.
But the poor results and the lack of performance were starting to build. And Zach Brown, McLaren CEO, said the following: Ricciardo has not met expectations of himself or the team. And he said this at Monaco. And whenever you have a CEO saying this out
publicly,
on the lead broadcast, you're in trouble.
Oh yeah, that's like foreshadowing what's to come, and you've just got to imagine how many conversations have been had behind closed doors up until that point between McLaren and Ricciardo around his performance, and for Zach to be publicly saying that, it's basically like it's already done. You won't be here for much longer.
That was pretty much it. And as this was starting to happen as well, once again, the driver's silly season was kicking off. Sebastian Vettel would retire.
Yeah.
Alonso would replace Vettel. So that's from Alpine to Aston Martin.
Yeah.
And then this is where the final piece of the pie starts to come in.
Yeah.
Of August of 2022, McLaren and Ricciardo terminated his contract a year early.
Yeah.
McLaren was so desperate to get rid of Ricciardo, they were willing to pay Ricciardo out a reported $20 million.
Goodness, yeah.
But that just goes to show how desperate they were.
Yeah, they really just wanted another driver for the next season.
Guess who that other driver would be?
Another Aussie for an Aussie.
It was an Aussie for an Aussie. It was Oscar Piastri.
Yeah.
But the bit that I brought up about the silly season was Alpine thought they had a shoe-in with as Oscar was their junior driver.
Yeah.
Alpine released a statement saying, we have got Oscar Piastri as our race driver. And that famous Piastri tweet came out that was like, I have not given my consent to...
Yeah, without my
Alpine.
knowledge, Alpine have released this statement to say I'm driving with them and I'm not.
And
Which, how awkward. Like, you could do a whole conversation about that.
I think we will have to do a whole conversation about that. But that was it for Ricciardo.
Yeah.
And for 2023, he had no seat. He had run out of options.
Yeah.
I would argue his driver tag and his marketing dollars probably caught up to him.
Yeah.
In some respects, unfortunately. And he was without contract for next year.
Yeah.
But Ricciardo's best race would actually come at the Singapore Grand Prix. So after this deal had been done, starting from 16th in the grid, he worked his way up into 5th position. Another wet race, another honey badger moment.
Yeah.
Just showed how good he was, giving him the right tools in the right moments.
Yeah.
His final race, McLaren, was the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. He finished in 9th, ahead of the retiring Sebastian Vettel.
Yeah.
Ricciardo finished the championship in 11th, 85 points behind his teammate Lando Norris, which goes to show how seismic of a gap it was.
Yeah.
And literally the day after the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix,
Red Bull signed Ricciardo as their third driver, but he is without a full-time drive in 2023, and this is the first time since 2011. So, yes, he's the reserve driver, but he is not racing in F1. This is until July of the 2023 season. After the British Grand Prix, he completed a tyre test and put a lap time in good enough to qualify on the front row alongside Verstappen, who participated in the Grand Prix on the weekend.
And that was actually caught by Netflix. So if you
was,
watch Drive to Survive,
Yeah.
you actually see the behind the scenes of that tyre test
Yeah.
and the meeting that Christian and Blake Friend, which I believe is Ricciardo's manager, had straight after it.
Yeah, interesting. Well, I guess he did a good enough job, and he replaced the underperforming Nick DeBreeze, who was released from the AlphaTauri seat. So now we've got Daniel Ricciardo back end of the 2023 season, back on the F1 grid in the AlphaTauri, which is the new name for the junior Red Bull team, which was Toro Rosso earlier in the episode.
It's changed around a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. But first race back, he only finished 13th, which was the Hungarian Grand Prix. But then in only his third race weekend back, which was the Dutch Grand Prix, Oscar Piastri crashed into him, unfortunately. And Ricciardo came onto the scene and had the option of either hitting Piastri or hitting the wall, and he chose the wall. But what this means was he crashed into the wheel as he was holding onto the steering, and the impact was so intense that he actually broke his hand. So it's only his third race back, and he's already out with a broken hand. So he's on the sidelines for 5 races, and Liam Lawson, cross the ditch friend,
Enters the chat.
Yeah, replaced him, and Ricciardo wouldn't return until the US Grand Prix. His best result for the season, again, came at the Mexico Grand Prix, where he finished 7th. And then not much to talk about in terms of championship standing, but he was back in F1.
He was back in F1.
Yeah.
Ricciardo would start the 2024 season, but he was outside the points for the first 4 races.
Yeah.
That included his home race in Australia.
Yeah.
Which is a big blow. And at the Chinese Grand Prix, he was sitting in 8th position until the greatest racing driver in the world, what's his name? Oh, sorry, it's not Max Verstappen, it's Lance Stroll.
Lance Stroll again.
Hit him under the safety car. Do you remember this?
Yeah, I do. It was pretty bad.
He literally rear-ended him to next year. It was ridiculous. And he forced Ricciardo to retire. So Ricciardo at the Miami Grand Prix, there were rumblings starting, especially from Helmut Marko.
Yeah.
He had something against him ever since he left Red Bull back in 2018.
Yeah.
Ricciardo qualified 4th in the sprint race, which was a huge result. But that was the first points of the season. He wasn't able to actually get into the points for the actual Grand Prix.
Yeah.
But for the sprint, he did a mega job. And at the Canadian Grand Prix, the ever outspoken Jacques Villeneuve, for those that don't know, he's the 1997 F1 world champion with Williams, said, "Why is Ricciardo still in F1? It's quite funny because you look at it now and you go, he probably doesn't have too bad of a point in some respects.
Yeah.
But he went for the jugular.
Yeah.
So Ricciardo decided to go back for Jacques Villeneuve's jugular and proved him wrong. And he got 5th position in qualifying.
Yeah.
And he secured 8th in the race.
Yeah.
So that was his first Grand Prix points for 2024.
Gosh, long season for him.
It was. And it was going to get longer and it was going to get a lot worse.
Yeah.
It was a very quiet season and pressure was building within Red Bull.
Yeah.
But ironically, there was pressure at Red Bull Racing with Sergio Perez.
Yeah, it was a bit of a funny one, wasn't it? It was like, Sergio's not performing, but Daniel Ricciardo's not performing, but should we just put Daniel Ricciardo in the Red Bull and bring Liam Lawson in? Or do we what are we going to do here?
There's 4 people in this conversation.
Yeah.
Sergio, Ricciardo, Liam Lawson, and Yuki Tsunoda.
Yuki, yeah.
And they were all somewhere
Which
in the
piece
picture.
goes where? Yeah.
It was a messy puzzle.
Yeah.
And they had a very keen Liam Lawson waiting in the wings and was doing his best not to be too verbal, but he was very verbal about he wanted to be in F1.
Yeah.
Ricciardo then went into the Singapore Grand Prix. He knew it was going to be his last race.
Yeah. So this is not the end of the season. Yeah.
No, this is definitely not. This is September, October.
Yeah.
But Ricciardo was the only one that knew it was the last race.
Yeah.
People at Red Bull knew. No one publicly knew.
Yeah.
So everyone knew something was happening, but no one knew exactly what was happening.
Yeah.
And Ricciardo cut a very dejected figure throughout this whole weekend. He was very emotional.
Yeah.
There was lots of laughs for him.
Yeah. But he couldn't really talk about it in the way I'm sure he wanted to publicly because not everybody knew.
Yeah. I'm going to be honest, like race fans were very confused. And I think, to be honest, quite disgusted. I don't use that word lightly because the treatment of Ricciardo at the end was pretty bad.
Yeah. I think when you consider what he did for the sport away from the racetrack and how much he gave to the sport to make it more well-known and make it bigger and more popular, to not have any level of that kind of repaid to him in a way or giving him like, you know, a proper send-off. For sure. Disgusted is a good word to describe that.
And I think the thing is, everyone knew it was wrong, but no one could do anything about it.
Yeah.
But this was across the board. This was all teams thought the same thing.
Yeah.
His final act under Red Bull colours, though, was to grab the fastest lap of the race.
Yeah.
And show that last bit of honey badger spirit and that last bit of speed. He would take the fastest lap away from eventual race winner Lando Norris.
Yeah.
This was to help his stablemate Max Verstappen's world championship tally, because if you got the fastest lap back last year, you would get an extra point.
Yeah.
And Lando at this point could still win the championship.
Yeah. So it was really important.
Ricciardo was ever the gracious competitor.
For sure.
Finished the last race, and he actually was crying in the press conference.
Yeah.
Which was a really hard sight to see.
Yeah.
So Ricciardo would lead the Singapore Grand Prix paddock in the early hours of Monday, the 23rd September 2024. And this is the last time we've seen Ricciardo in an F1 paddock.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think we're recording this now in August of 2025.
It's almost been a year.
It's almost been a year. And this is the legacy that Ricciardo leaves.
Yeah.
13 and a half seasons, 8 race wins, 32 podiums, 3 pole positions, 17 fastest laps, and 1,329 World Driver Championship points.
Very impressive career.
It's no mean resume. He's, to be honest, being an Australian, having those results, pretty incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess where does that leave us now with Ricciardo? Like, what has he done since that Singapore Grand Prix?
I think, to Ricciardo's credit, he's actually cut a very low profile.
Yeah.
He's not been out of the media. He's not been seen at many sporting events. He's been spotted at Wimbledon.
Yeah.
And he's played a bit of paddle with a couple of F1 drivers.
Yeah.
I think it was like Verstappen, Russell, maybe Piastri might have been the other. I can't remember. But there was also the rumour mill. So for the 2026 season, a new team enters.
Yeah.
That's Cadillac.
Yeah.
It's an F1 team. Ricciardo is a dominant figure still in the American market.
Yeah.
And people have been pushing Ricciardo to go for that seat. The Cadillac CEO has very much come out and knocked that back and said, I don't want any driver to, if I need to ask them, then they're not my right.
Yeah, they should come to me.
They shouldn't be my driver.
Yeah.
And I think Ricciardo as well just wants to step away.
Yeah, I'm sure he needs a break. It's been a very long decade for him, or more than a decade, really.
But I think in reality, when we look at it, Ricciardo should be remembered as nothing more than an incredible race car driver who had a very solid career when you look at it.
Yeah, for sure.
13 and a half seasons is a long time in F1.
Yeah.
And he's been able to stick around for a long time. And probably other than Lewis Hamilton, he's arguably the most marketable F1 driver ever.
Yeah, I think everyone who knows F1 would know Daniel Ricciardo and would be able to like pinpoint funny things that he's done or he said.
Literally. And I think the biggest thing I want to point out here as well, I think for F1, for Netflix and the show of Drive to Survive,
Yeah.
you can pin your success
Yeah.
down to Daniel Ricciardo.
Mhm.
And the reason why I say this is Drive to Survive was not actually intended
Yeah.
to be about all the teams. It was
Mm.
originally intended just to be about one team,
Yeah.
being Red Bull,
Yeah.
and they had to get someone's approval. And they put all of this through Ricciardo.
Yeah.
And Ricciardo was like, yep, I want to show this side of F1.
Yeah.
Because previously it was a very closed off sport.
Yeah.
None of this access was there.
Mm.
But Ricciardo wanted to lift the lid on what was happening in the paddock.
And it's ballooned since then in terms of their popularity, number of people at their races, merch sales, ticket sales, broadcast, everything. And like that first season of Drive to Survive, it's just like Daniel Ricciardo the whole time.
Well, I'd say he's made like billions for that sport.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that a lot of people don't give him enough credit for that.
Yeah.
And I think if we take a step back and have a look at what he's done, he's been an incredible ambassador, not just to the sport,
Yeah.
to Australia,
Yeah.
but also as a role model as a professional athlete.
Absolutely. It's got a lot to be proud of, Daniel Ricciardo.
Absolutely. Well, JenLen, I think that's been a great episode.
Yeah, we've trekked through the past, 13 and a half years, really.
Absolutely. And we might throw to a viewer,
Mm.
what do you want to see in a moment from the archives? Is there
Yeah.
a pivotal sporting moment that you would like to see uncovered?
Mm-mm.
Is it something netball? Is it
Yeah.
football? Is it internationally? Is it ice hockey?
Surfing, cricket,
Anything.
who knows?
We would love to cover it. I really enjoy these
Mm.
episodes, being here with my partner and
Mhm.
being able to talk about great sporting moments
Yeah.
and making people more aware of what's happened. So,
For sure.
JenLen, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to the Sports Playbook. Please follow us wherever you listen to your podcast and subscribe on YouTube. We will catch you on the next play.